Part 79. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 781. Chapter 781 Weird Reward. But no matter how confused you are, the Li family cannot lack etiquette. Soon, Li Zhensheng went out in person and welcomed the people from the palace inn. The visitor was a nun from the queen's side, bringing 4 maids with her, while the rest of the guards stayed outside the door. The nun was carrying a food box, and the 4 maids were carrying trays covered with red satin. With a smile on her face, Grandma greeted the Li family respectfully, and was then invited to sit down for tea. She smiled and said, "Princess, the queen, and the 3rd princess are dining together today." She mentioned that the princess is not feeling well, and the 3rd princess is thinking about you very much. The same is true for the queen. After all, the queen watched you grow up, so the queen chose several sets of jewelry for you and asked the old slave to deliver them. I think the princess will be happy after seeing it, and her illness will be half cured. After saying that, she waved her hand, and the maid opened the red silk on the tray, revealing the contents. 4 trays and 4 sets of red gold jewelry. The style is not very exquisite, but it is very affordable. Each set may not be made without 5 or 6 taels of gold. 4 sets are more than 20 taels of gold, which can be exchanged for more than 200 taels of silver. This reward cannot be said to be very generous, but it does look very eye-catching, and it can be regarded as a favor to Jiyan, which shows that it is thoughtful. Jiyan beamed with joy and quickly thanked her. "Thank you very much, Queen, for still thinking of me. When I fully recover, I will go to the palace to thank you." The nanny took the opportunity to look at Jiyan carefully and saw that her face was a little thin and her complexion was not very good, but she was almost the same as an ordinary person. Mammy felt confident, so she stood up with a smile, took a small pot from the food box, and covered it with a cotton cover to keep it warm. She continued to smile and said, "Princess, this is the tonic soup that the Empress drank recently. The Empress has asked the doctor at the Taiyuan hospital, and he said that it is particularly effective in strengthening the body, nourishing qi and blood. The Queen ordered someone to cook a portion for you. Drink it while it's hot." Jiyan blinked her big eyes and frowned as she looked at the medicine pot, somewhat reluctantly. "What kind of tonic is this? Is it bitter? I hate taking medicine the most." The nanny quickly said, "It's not bitter, it's not bitter. The princess doesn't know something, and the queen is also afraid of hardship. Since the queen can drink it, the taste must be good." After saying that, she took out the medicine pot with her own hands, poured a bowl of brown soup, and sent it to Jiyan. "Princess, please drink it while it's hot. The Empress said that when you fully recover, she will invite you to the palace to enjoy the chrysanthemums. They are all famous products, and I am sure the princess will like them." Seriously, Jiyan seemed to be very interested and asked, "Has the gardener in the palace raised Phoenix Janayu? Can I ask the Empress for a flower seedling?" The nanny glanced at the medicinal soup in the bowl, and said with a forced smile, "Princess, this old slave can't be the master. Why don't you drink the tonic soup quickly, go to appreciate the flowers when the time comes, and tell the queen in person. The queen loves you so much, let alone 1 flower seedling, 8 out of 10 will be fine." Jiyan nodded happily, and just as he was about to pick up the medicine bowl, he heard Li Zhensheng shout, "Wait a minute." He stepped forward to take a closer look at the medicinal soup. He looked up and saw that before he could put away the panic in his grandma's eyes, he felt more and more that something was wrong. "It was strange that the queen suddenly came to reward me, but it was even weirder to bring a pot of boiled medicinal soup with her. If you really want to reward someone with something to replenish your health, you can give them supplements, medicinal materials, or even prescriptions. There is no need to boil them and deliver them. Moreover, the good news must be drank immediately. It's impossible not to drink it." The grandma suppressed her panic and said, I have studied medicine. But what's wrong with this tonic soup? Mammy is serious. How can I dare to question the queen's love? Li Zhensheng shook his head, but still said with a smile, it's just that the tonic soup may have become cold along the way, and the efficacy of the medicine must be compromised. It's better. The prescription was given as a reward, and after we cooked it at home, the princess took it. The nanny quickly said, to be honest with you, sir, this tonic recipe is a secret of the imperial physician's family and is not allowed to be passed on to anyone else. The queen also thought the medicine was effective, so she sent it to the princess. After saying that, she looked around at the Li family and added with a smile, isn't it that the eldest master can't trust the queen? Li Zhensheng's expression paled and he replied, I don't dare, I just want to ask a few more questions. After all, the princess is still young. Before the northern expedition, the Marquis had told us for a long time that our family should take good care of the princess. If anyone wants to do harm to the princess, he will not let it go when he comes back. Mammy's hand trembled, but she still pushed the medicine bowl forward. Princess, princess, drink the tonic soup quickly, this old slave is in a hurry to go back and recover. Jiyan didn't seem to hear the sharpness of his words. He frowned, picked up the medicine bowl, covered his mouth with his sleeve, and drank it all in one breath. Finally she put down the bowl, smacked her lips twice, and said with some disgust, this tonic soup is not bitter, but it is a bit fishy. Mammy finally breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, maybe fish maw is added to this. This not only nourishes the body, but also beautifies the face. The princess won't feel the fishy smell after she is used to eating it. After saying that, she collected the medicine bowl and pot, then stood up and left. Everyone in the Li family also got up and walked to the door. Needless to say, with one nun and 4 maids, the Li family sent out 5 purses filled with hard-earned money. When only his family members were left in the room, Li Zhensheng immediately asked, Fu Niuer, do you feel uncomfortable in any way? Can you please invite Divine Dr. Zhang? Jiyan smiled and waved his hand and asked, Uncle, how do you know that this tonic soup has been tampered with? What do you mean by tampering? Before Li Zhensheng could say anything, Mrs. Li had already rushed forward and grabbed her granddaughter's hand, her face turned pale with fright. Tao Hongying, Zhao Yuru and others also gathered around, looking worried. Jiyan quickly said, Grandma, don't worry, the tonic soup is not poisonous, and I didn't drink it. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but still looked at her with a good look, fearing that she would fall down in the next moment. Jiyan finally appeased the family members and said, I smelled seaweed in the tonic soup just now, and it tasted really good. This seaweed is not considered poisonous and will not kill people, but if you drink it, you will not experience any symptoms at first, but you will suffer from vomiting and diarrhea after 2 days, and you will be sick for at least 5 or 6 days. In this way, even if a doctor comes to diagnose the pulse, the doctor will think that the patient has caught a cold or has eaten the wrong food, which is why there is a problem. Fortunately, it is not difficult to treat vomiting and diarrhea. It will definitely not be life-threatening, but it will be a bit painful. Old Mrs. Li was angry at the time, our family has not offended the queen recently. Why would she send you tonic soup and make you suffer? Tao Hongying also scolded, even if she is a queen, she can't harm other people's children like this. Fortunately you didn't drink, otherwise what would you do if you had vomiting and diarrhea? Li Zhensheng signaled everyone to be calm and asked the good news, Fu Niuer, what do you think of this matter? Jiyan was also puzzled and said, if our family really offends the queen, or if the queen dislikes me and wants my life, then she should be poisoned, and it cannot be sent with such a big fanfare. So, the queen's real purpose should be to make me a little sick even if I am found out and my life is not in danger, neither our family nor even the emperor will do anything to her. I just don't know why she made me sick for a few days. Could it be that I might be an obstacle to whatever she is going to do these days, So she wants me to fall down temporarily. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 782. Chapter 782. I am puzzled. Everyone was confused after hearing this. Li Zhensheng thought for a while and said, since we know the queen's purpose, our family will follow the trend for the time being and don't make the queen suspicious. I'm going to tell my second brother that I will try my best to check the queen's background in the next few days and see if I can find any clues. Okay, go quickly. Mrs. Li nodded quickly and said, tell me, be careful with everything. Li Zhensheng went out in a hurry and took a car back to the city. Jiyan thought about it and said to his family members, I will go find Grandpa Zhang later and ask him to go out and play for a few days. In the afternoon the day after tomorrow, my family will go to the city to ask for a doctor. By then the news will spread, and the queen will be able to see me falling ill as she wishes. When the time comes, let's see what she does and try to figure it out. After saying that, she saw that her grandmother and mother were all worried, and she smiled and said, don't worry, our family is just curious about the queen's purpose, and it's not that we can't protect ourselves. At worst, I will go into the palace to complain to the emperor's uncle, and the queen will definitely restrain herself. Mrs. Li sighed, this is the only way. I hope your second uncle will find out the results soon. Jiyan had a smile on her face, but felt aggrieved in her heart. The manpower at Erbo's side has grown a lot in the past 2 years. It can be said that the information is well informed and can be used when something happens. But the palace has always been a blank space for news. It's not that there is no way to deploy people, it's that they can't do it. Because the emperor has always believed that the Li family is pure and kind, and he has enough trust in the Li family. If the Li family is discovered to have planted people in the palace, this trust will collapse. Compared with a few insignificant pieces of news, the emperor's trust is the most rare thing. Think about it from their perspective. If the Li family has good relations with Aunt Wu, they will take good care of the Wu family. Suddenly one day, the Li family discovered that the maid at home was arranged by Wu Sanzi, who occasionally told the Wu family about the movements of everyone in the Li family. The Li family will definitely be furious, let alone the emperor. The emperor's pride did not allow him to trust the wrong person. How trusting and friendly you were before, you will get angry later, and I am afraid that it will not be able to calm down without destroying the Li family. Having settled in Zindu for a few years, the Li family now represents not only the Li family, but also the Wen family and the Lu family. The Li family being rejected by the emperor will definitely affect them. The most important thing is that the Marquis, who holds military power, will no longer be trusted. When Li Zhensheng found Li Lao'er at the relief department, Li Lao'er was eating jade melon. When he suddenly saw his elder brother, he guessed that something was wrong. Sure enough, Li Lao'er became anxious when he heard what happened at home. It is true that if a person sits at home, disaster will come from heaven. The rumors about his niece in the previous paragraph were suspected to be the work of the Wang family. We haven't found out clearly yet, why did the queen suddenly jump out again? No matter how powerful the Wang family is, they can't ask the queen to be their vanguard. But even if there are more doubts, what needs to be done is still done. Soon, manpower was redeployed and started to get busy. When it was just getting dark, the news came back. There has been nothing unusual about the queen recently, at least there is no news outside the palace. If we must find something different, it is that the queen's mother, Mrs. Wu, went to the palace to meet the queen for 2 consecutive days. I don't know what the mother and daughter discussed. Li Lao'er frowned, and combined with the recent major events in the DPRK, he said to his eldest brother, the queen has been busy giving birth to children in the past few years. I heard that the queen's hospital will take a detour when seeing the queen. I have tried all possible methods, but the queen still is not pregnant with the prince. Especially during the last court meeting, Someone proposed to establish a prince, so the queen must be more anxious, but she is anxious to have a son. What does it have to do with Funiur? Why do you need to deliberately give medicine to make Funiur sick? Could Funiur be pregnant just because she's sick? Ridiculous. Li Zhensheng couldn't figure it out either, so he could only say, the queen is in the palace. If she really makes any moves, she will definitely go through the Jiangning Marquis mansion. Let's just keep an eye on this family. Li Laoer nodded. Let's not talk about private discussions between the Li brothers, let's talk about the palace. The emperor had dinner at the moment. It was rare that he did not go to the harem. Instead, he drank and asked what was going on everywhere. Mr. Yi did his duty and told the emperor everything he needed to know. Finally, he hesitated and added a few words. Your Majesty, the Queen sent people to Sujintan today and rewarded Princess Kangal with several sets of jewelry and a pot of tonic soup. I heard she was concerned about the princess' health. The emperor couldn't help but snorted coldly, obviously not believing this statement. What is she planning? She usually just drinks the tonic soup as water. Why is she dragging Funiur with her now? Mr. Yi lowered his head. It was hard for him to interrupt. As expected, the emperor didn't expect him to respond, so he asked again, what other news has happened in Cunning Palace recently? Manager Yi thought for a while and reported, the queen called the imperial doctor several times and met with Mrs. Wu twice. The emperor couldn't hear anything wrong, so he lost interest and turned to the matter of the three princesses. The third princess is now 12 years old. Although she is not in a hurry to get married, she has to start paying attention to suitable candidates for her consort. There are quite a few young talents in Zindu. But those with good family background and outstanding talents are not willing to be crowned princesses. Her family background is not good, she is average, and she is not worthy of a princess. Calling it this way, the result is that the royal princess is also worried about getting married. In fact, the emperor once wanted to marry the third princess to the Li family. There are so many boys in the Li family, so it is hard to choose one. But the third princess doesn't get along well with Funiur, the darling of the Li family. She is afraid that life will be difficult if she marries into the Li family. Because the boys from the Li family all regard their sister as an eyeball. After a night of cold wind, the pace of autumn seems to be accelerating again. The cabbages and radishes in the fields of Broken Gold Beach are growing well. When the morning light first shines, they stretch out their waists, trying hard to absorb energy and strive to grow up as soon as possible and grow up before the frost. A carriage quickly turned off the official road, past the checkpoint of the second village, and rushed to the Li family in the new village. In the carriage, the old doctor pulling him was an acquaintance, namely Dr. Chang and the little medicine boy from Huishan Hall. After all, he was quite old. When he got off the carriage, the old doctor's steps were a little sloppy and his expression was not good. Li Laoer, who was waiting for her to go out, quickly stepped forward to help her and said, "Thank you, Dr. Chang, for visiting me. My little niece suddenly suffered from vomiting and diarrhea. She was very serious. But the doctor who serves in the village is out for business again. It's really urgent, so I can only bother you, old man, to make a trip." "Uncle, your words are serious." Dr. Chang felt very happy when he saw his uncle being so polite to him. He quickly returned the courtesy respectfully, and then followed him into the inner courtyard. This time, the princess's pulse was not as weird as last time, and it was easy to diagnose her clearly. Dr. Chang was so confident that he whetted the appetite of the Li family, and finally came to the conclusion, the princess probably has a cold in her stomach, it's not a serious matter. I'll prescribe a few decoctions and let her recover slowly. She'll be fine in 7 or 8 days. The Li family breathed a long sigh of relief and thanked them one after another. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 783. Chapter 783 The Real Treasure of Broken Gold Beach. Dr. Chang wrote a prescription, took a generous medical fee, and returned to the city. Last time, Princess Kangal suffered from a strange disease, which caused all the doctors in the city to suffer, and ended up in disgrace. Moreover, it is said that the person who cured Princess Kangal was the miraculous doctor from Rujintan. It can be said that they all served as stepping stones for the miracle doctor. This matter makes them feel uncomfortable every time they think about it. Now, Dr. Chang was invited by Sujintan again to treat Princess Kangal. Everyone was curious. So, within a quarter of an hour after Dr. Chang returned to the medicine hall, 4 or 5 people came with him. Everyone was sitting together drinking tea, and they started talking about it after a few words. Someone asked, "Brother Chang, what happened over there at Broken Gold Beach? Don't they have a miracle doctor on duty? Why do they need you to go there? Dr. Chang is a good person, not a petty person, and the Li family is very polite. This time, the Count welcomes him, and the consultation fee is generous. He cannot unscrupulously say something bad about the Li family. So, he said, the colleague from Rujintan has gone out to collect medicine and has not been here for the past few days. It happened that the princess caught a cold and suffered from vomiting and diarrhea, so Uncle Li sent someone to ask me to go see a doctor. I gave him a prescription and everything was fine." Everyone understood and nodded one after another. He happened to be the first to ask the question, and said with a sarcastic smile, "Does this mean that the miracle doctor is not here, and only then do you think that our subordinates will be defeated?" He used the words miraculous doctor and defeated general very seriously, and his intention was obvious. The others smiled, lowered their heads and drank tea without saying anything. Dr. Chang couldn't help but said, "That's right, we are indeed defeated. I just checked the princess's pulse carefully, and the previous strange illness has completely recovered. Now it's just a simple cold in the intestines, not the root cause of the previous strange illness." The person who spoke sneered and picked up the teacup. As these doctors left Huishun Hall, the news spread. Although the princess is still sick this time, there is no reward of 1,000 taels of silver, and it is not a serious illness. Naturally, it will not attract too many people's interest, so just say a few words. But this is only for ordinary people, but in the eyes of Mrs. Wu of Jiangninghao Mansion, it is a big deal. She almost immediately sent her aunt at home to bring a box of the queen's favorite snacks into the palace. Of course the letters at the bottom of the box were also sent in. The queen was relieved, so she ate half a bowl of rice that night and had a good sleep. When I woke up the next day, not only did I not have a headache, I felt refreshed. At this time, even if the queen was reluctant, she still believed it. There is only one point left, only 5 or 6 days to go. At this moment, Ji Yin was not ill in bed at all. She had already changed into Shui Yun's dress, wrapped her hair with a handkerchief, put on a mask, pretended to be a maid, and followed the village chief on an inspection. This dress is just to prevent outsiders from discovering that she is jumping around, and her pretending to be sick will be exposed. As for the people in the village, they are all too familiar with it, so they can't hide it, and there is no need to hide it. The expanded chicken coops and pig farms in the village have been set up. The chicken coop is better than an ordinary thatched house in a farmhouse. The walls and roof are very thick, making it warm in winter and cool in summer. Rows of shelves were set up inside, half a person high. On the shelf is a square basket made of rattan, used to house chickens. In this way, the feces falls under the shelf for easy cleaning. Originally Ji Yin wanted to think about automatic water feeding, but was stopped by the village chief. Now all the fields on Broken Gold Beach are planted with jade melons and golden fruits. Farming work is reduced a lot throughout the year, especially in autumn and winter. Therefore, There are many idle people in each family. There are some industrious people who can weave baskets and go to the city to find some part-time jobs, and then try to earn some money. But some people just eat and sleep, eat after sleeping, and even gather together to drink and gamble. As time goes by, some trouble will occur without warning. In the chicken farms and pig houses, if there are more jobs, we can recruit more people to work. If you work and get paid, you will have a head start in life, and you will not sink. Hand heard the good news, she was very ashamed. Because she retained the memory of her previous life and because she had room to be a helper, she thought she was much smarter than others. But when it comes to the wisdom of living life, it is still far inferior to that of the village chief and others. So, she adjusted her thoughts in time and asked more questions and listened more. When making decisions, the village chief's opinion will also be sought. Now that it is completely completed and walking around, both she and the village chief are very satisfied. Compared with chicken coops, pig house construction is not much worse. In order to keep the pigs warm in the winter, the fat pigs will not lose fat, and the pig house is not built into a semi-open style. The shed is also buckled, and the floor is even paved with bluestone. The ground is slightly tilted toward the corner, so when a few buckets of water are poured into it, the pig manure and urine can flow out through the sewer in the corner, which saves a lot of effort. With a clean living environment, fat pigs will be less likely to get sick. Many villagers were following the village chief and the princess around, and they couldn't help but praise them. This pig house and chicken rack are built better than ordinary people's houses. Yes, these chickens and pigs are so happy. Haha, are you envious? Then you come here to sleep. Get out of here, you're sleeping with pigs. The village chief was afraid that the villagers would offend the princess's ears by saying something else if they didn't know what to say, so he started to chase them away. Do whatever you have to do, don't you want today's work points? In a few months, the money will be distributed at the end of the year. Do you want to see others taking the money and your intestines will turn green with envy? The villagers laughed, said hello quickly and ran away. Jiyan and the village chief found a place sheltered from the sun and chatted. Grandpa, the village chief, call Jing Lichhan and the others over in a few days to have a look. If they are willing, they can try raising chickens and pigs in their village. In addition, I have already grown the white melons and peaches that Uncle He and the others retrieved from Ganzhou Prefecture in the greenhouse, so it is not difficult. It would be good to set aside 20 acres of land next year and try planting it in the village, especially the white melons, which are sweeter than the jade melons and larger than the cantaloupes, will definitely fetch a lot of money. The village chief smiled happily when he heard this, and quickly responded, okay, don't worry, I will definitely set aside the best 20 acres of land. Having said that, he couldn't help but sigh. Everyone says that Broken Gold Beach is a geomantic treasure, but how do they know that the real treasure of Broken Golden Beach is the princess? These jade melons, golden fruits, and white melons are all good things, but our village has taken them all. Jiyan coaxed the old man with a smile, so, the village chief grandpa wants to live a long life. There are so many good things, and I don't feel at ease if the village chief grandpa doesn't help me look after them. Okay, just because of what the princess said, I have to live longer than a turtle, the village chief laughed, causing the busy villagers not far away to look over. They didn't know what made the village chief so happy, but they couldn't help but want to laugh along with him. These days are really interesting. Although the weather is getting cooler, their hearts are getting hotter and hotter. It's July 8th again in a flash, and Zindulai has just passed due to the busy autumn day. There are more pedestrians on the streets, and some of the liveliness of the past has returned. In front of the gate of Jiangninghao Mansion, a carriage with the palace logo stopped, causing everyone passing by to take a second look. I can't say it, but the queen in the palace sent something to her mother's family again. It's just that I don't know what a good thing it is. The third update is coming. The update at the end of the month has come to an end for now. Dear friends, don't be disappointed, We will continue at any time after Huahua sorts out the outline. Refill. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, delayed flowering. Chapter 784. Chapter 784. It's time for the Zhongning Marquis mansion to establish its authority. In the main courtyard of the Ho mansion, Mrs. Wu accompanied the nanny who came from the palace. After giving the old lady some gifts and some snacks prepared by the queen, she quickly led the nanny back to her courtyard. Mrs. Wu couldn't help complaining to her mother-in-law, "Mom, look at my sister-in-law, she seems to be afraid that others won't know that the queen is her daughter. Even if a nun comes to the palace, she would like to surround her and not let anyone else say a word." After saying that, she flipped through the ingredients, opened the box and looked at the snacks inside, curling her lips in disgust. These ingredients are not new tributes this year, and these snacks, they don't look as delicious as Bianjian's. The royal chefs in the palace are really not making progress. They keep the same thing every year. Won't the nobles in the palace get tired of eating? Mrs. Wu rubbed her temples, feeling extremely helpless towards her two daughters-in-law. One is not smart and generous, while the other is sarcastic. It seems that all the good luck of the Wu family has been spent on their grandchildren. They gave birth to a queen, and the rest are really. She said quickly, "Okay, just say a few words and pick two pieces of ingredients and take them back." Mrs. Wu finally put aside the disgust on her face, looked over it happily, asked the maid to hold two pieces of silk and walked away. At this moment, Mrs. Wu had no intention of arguing with her grandma. She asked her mother in disbelief. "What did you say?" "The queen asked me to find a way to get it." She was only halfway through her yelling when her grandma held down the back of her hand, and she promptly retracted the second half of her words. Mammy looked around and saw that there was no one in the room, so she lowered her voice and said, "Madam, it's better not to speak loudly about this matter. Be careful that the walls have ears." Mrs. Wu blushed. For a master to be reminded like this by a slave, doesn't it make her look stupid? Mammy was also afraid that Mrs. Wu would be angry, so she explained a few words, "Madam, you also know that the family dotes on that girl very much, and even the one who is sent to the army treats the girl as his own daughter. If the news gets out, I'm afraid the queen will not be able to tell what she wants, and we will have many more enemies in our family, so we must be very careful about this matter." Of course Mrs. Wu also understood this, so she became more and more anxious and asked, "The queen must also know this, but why should the family take action? Now that the old marquis is still here, how can her father and I have any manpower? Mammy is also bored in her heart. She is involved in the nonsense between the queen and her mother's family." She braced herself and explained in a low voice, "Madam, I don't know how many pairs of eyes are staring at the Empress in that position. Even if you have been to the palace twice recently, someone has said that the Empress is in the royal family, but her heart is in the Wu family. Furthermore, even if the Empress has some men, they are all in the palace. That girl doesn't come into the palace often, she only goes to the palace to see the emperor, so she can't find any chance. So, I can't say, I still need some help from my family. I'm not young anymore. The girl has recovered in the past few days, but she started to have a headache again. She didn't sleep at all last night. If we don't get rid of that girl as soon as possible, the Empress' body may not be able to bear the torment. What if she can get pregnant and give birth to a prince in the future, but her body?" Mrs. Wu frowned, obviously feeling sorry for her daughter and being moved. Mammy continued her efforts and said, "If the Empress gives birth to a prince as soon as possible, he will definitely be the prince, and he will inherit the country in the future. Our Wu family can also be rich and prosperous for 100 years. The Empress is so anxious to take action, not only for herself, but also for the Wu family. After all, whoever inherits the country in the future, the Empress will be the Queen Mother, so she has no worries about wealth. Mrs. Wu heard the truth and finally nodded. Okay, I will discuss this matter with the master after he comes back. You go back first and tell the queen to take good care of the body. Yes, madam. It is not easy for the queen to be in the deep palace. Fortunately, we have a lot of help from our family. Grandma quickly complimented her, then stood up to say goodbye. At dusk, Mr. Wu came back from outside with a very bad look on his face. As soon as he entered the palace, he heard that the queen had sent someone to deliver something, so he asked the chief to go to the main courtyard to say hello, and then went straight to his own courtyard. Mrs. Wu heard the movement and came out to greet her. The couple entered the house and dismissed the maid and woman who were waiting on them. Mrs. Wu explained the matter while helping her husband change into homely clothes. She was afraid that her husband would not believe it, so she emphasized it as hard as she could. Sir, it's absolutely true, when that girl was sick, the Empress could eat and sleep well, and her head no longer hurt. But after that girl got better, Our Lady immediately fell into the old habit. She couldn't sleep last night and was extremely haggard. Whether it's true or not, we have to give it a try, otherwise, how can the Empress give birth to a prince if her body is getting worse and worse? The Queen Mother has no prince, so she will still be the Queen Mother from now on, but what will our Wu family do in the future? It goes without saying, leave it to me to arrange this matter. Mr. Wu unexpectedly agreed immediately. This time it was Mrs. Wu's turn to be surprised. Sir, this is very dangerous. Do you want to think about it again? Mr. Wu waved his hand and said, today when I went to a banquet, someone said that I should stand on the side of the imperial concubine and the second prince. Nowadays, the imperial concubine is favored, the eldest prince died young, and the second prince is actually the eldest son. I couldn't help but retort a few words. If the legitimate son is established, the legitimate son will be ranked in front of the eldest son. But people have said that it is right to establish a legitimate son, but you must also have a legitimate son. Isn't this saying that the queen can't give birth? Now, as long as the queen can get pregnant, we will try every method. Mrs. Wu suddenly realized, but she still asked, the Li family and the Marquis of Xinting are not easy to deal with. It is not easy to capture Princess Kangol and collect blood. The Empress can't help. Our family of manpower. Don't worry, Dad is getting older. He gave me the token a few days ago. Now, all the people in our Marquis mansion, whether they are in the open or in the dark, are at my disposal. Mr. Wu looked more cheerful. A bit proud. Over the years, the Wu family, as the Queen's mother clan, has been despised by others because there are not many holy relatives. Just like today, if the Queen is favored and if the Prince's mansion is in the sky, how can those people dare to discuss the establishment of a prince in front of him? It's time for the Jiangning Marquis mansion to show its claws and establish its authority. And the Crown Prince of Tianwu must come from the Queen's belly, and must be the grandson of Jiangning Haofu. You don't have to worry about it, I'll take care of it. Mr. Wu said a few words and hurried to the study room in the outer courtyard. Kink, his valued think tank, was already waiting there. In Broken Gold Beach, it is not known that someone is already secretly plotting against the Li family's treasure. Seeing that it is the end of the month in a few days, the Fat Boys' round full moon party is also coming. Although the Li family has decided to host a banquet at the Earl's mansion in the city, the chicken, fish, meat, eggs and other ingredients have to be transported from the village. Moreover, it was impossible for everyone in the village to rush to the Earl's mansion for the wedding banquet, so Mrs. Li ordered 2 pigs to be killed and a running water banquet was set up in the village 1 day in advance. Hand in with all the villagers from Xinkan, Erkan, and Awaishu, let's have some fun together. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 785. Chapter 785 Helping Others. By chance, Jing Lijhan and Li Zheng from the Wangzhuang and Xiaoangzhuang came to visit the pig house and chicken farm. When they heard the news, they were very happy. They all said that they would tell the villagers when they got back that they would come to enjoy the joy no matter what. In the past 2 years, they have been working hard to follow the footsteps of Zinken. They simply work as the new village arranges them, obedient and loyal. In the end, I gained the closeness and trust of the people in the new village, and my life was naturally much better than before. The human heart is full of flesh, but those who understand things are extremely grateful to Zinken and the Li family. So, when I heard that the Li family's grandson was celebrating the full moon, each family would bring their chickens, ducks, eggs, wild products, etc., and deliver them to the door of Li's house as a token of their gratitude. The Li family did not refuse. They accepted everything and gave gifts in return. A pack of snacks or a few fruits for the villagers to take home to sweeten the mouths of their children. To this end, Tao Hongying led people to open the small oven workshop and bake some walnut cakes and the like. Zhao Yuru went to the earl's mansion and took people to clean it and prepare everything for the banquet. Although the good news is that he has recovered, it is not easy to run around. So she became a child king, responsible for taking care of the stars and the crescent moon. The 2 children are over 2 years old. They can eat, drink, and be naughty. In fact, it is not difficult to take care of them. Take him to the princess's mansion in the morning, prepare everything for food and drink, and add a water spirit. In the evening we went back to the old house together with the good news, each looking for his mother, and soon fell asleep and snored after getting on the Kong. Originally, everyone in the Li family was worried about what kind of action the queen would take, but as a result, everything was calm for several days. The Li family has no choice but to live their lives as usual. On this day, a salesman came to Xiaoangjuang, shaking the rattle in his hand and shouting smoothly. Soon, women and children from the village followed the sound and ran to the entrance of the village to watch the excitement. After the family's life got better, the children also had a few pennies in their hands. So, this kid asked for 2 pieces of snacks, and that kid asked for 3 pieces of candy, and the seller's box was surrounded by water. Soon, the children retreated to eat, and then the women came forward. The hawker's things were divided into 2 boxes. The items in one box were affordable and included all kinds of food and clothing. Each of the women spent dozens of coins to buy a wooden hairpin, some embroidery thread, lamp oil, and coarse salt. Finally, they drooled over the contents of another box. Because the box contained various kinds of velvet flowers, silver hairpins and other small jewelry. It's not too expensive to say the least. You can get a silver hairpin for just a few dollars, and the style is very exquisite. But when living at home, diligence and frugality come first. No matter how much the women played with it or praised it, no one paid for it. The hawker was a little anxious when he saw this, and said in frustration, "Sisters-in-law, I bought these things in a silver shop, and I spent all the money I had at home. They are really good things. If I can't sell it, I won't be able to live. My mother has been taking medicine all year round, and she is still waiting for me at home to get my money back and buy the medicine back home." He was very clean-looking, sweet-tongued, and well-spoken, and the women had a good impression of him. At this moment, seeing how anxious he was, a woman couldn't help but feel soft and gave him a few pointers. "Little brother, life in our village is not good. Your things are too expensive, and we can't afford them even if we want to buy them. Why don't you go to Zinken and Erkin, where people get hundreds of taels of dividends every year? No shortage of money. If you send these things over, I'm afraid they will be sold out in a short time." Seriously, the hawker was very happy, but then he said with some relief, "I heard from my colleagues that there are noble people living in the new village, and outsiders like us are not allowed to come in and out at will." The women obviously thought about it. They patted themselves on the head and said angrily, "Yeah, why did I forget about this? I almost let you run away in vain." The hawker was anxious and his eyes were red. "Sisters-in-law, This village has the best life, even if it's dozens of miles away. My sisters-in-law are not willing to buy them, and I can't enter the new village, so these goods are going to be thrown into my hands. If we can't sell the goods, my mother will have no medicine and she won't be able to live." The more he talked, the sadder he became. A grown man was about to shed tears. The women looked more and more sad and tried to persuade him one after another. In the end, it was the woman who spoke before who took charge of the job. "Okay, little brother, I'll take you for a ride. Just say you are my mother's brother, and I will take you to the station at the entrance of Zinken village to see if I can sell some jewelry and pay for the medicine your mother needs to drink today." "Oh, thank you, sister-in-law." The vendor was so happy that he took a silver hairpin from the box and gave it to the woman. "Sister-in-law is so helpful, brother, you can't let your trip go in vain. This is a thank you gift from brother." The woman had good intentions, but she didn't expect such a reward, so she immediately smiled. She declined, but the hairpin in her hand was quickly inserted into her bun. Then, in the eyes of many women with envy and regret, she took the hawker and walked to the new village. As a result, Li Zheng came back from the field just after taking more than 10 steps, his hands behind his back. He frowned when he saw a village woman walking with a stranger from a distance, chatting and laughing. In broad daylight, does this woman no longer want her reputation? He asked loudly, "Zhang San's wife, who is this? Where are you going?" Zhang San's wife was startled and felt a little uneasy. Li Zheng usually behaves very strictly, especially when it comes to matters between men and women. He hates it deeply. Last year, there was a little widow in the village who recruited a man to come back and fool around. She was beaten to half-death and kicked out. Now she doesn't know where she is living, dead or alive. "Li Zheng, this is my natal brother, here to sell some groceries." Zhang San's wife had just said a few words when she was interrupted by Li Zheng. "Isn't your mother's family in Ganzhou Prefecture? It's thousands of miles away. Why is your brother here?" Zhang San's wife blushed and had no choice but to tell the truth. "Li Zheng, this is a salesman who came to the village. The goods he brought are too expensive and cannot be sold in our village. He is also waiting for money to buy medicine for his wife at home. I felt soft-hearted for a moment, so I wanted to take him for a walk in Zinken. The life there is good, and he must be able to afford it." The salesman also quickly put down his burden and wanted to salute and say a few nice words. Dan Lichhan stared, pointed at the nose of the third daughter-in-law Zhang and cursed her. "Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? You are indispensable for everything, right? Who do you think you are, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva? I can help people in trouble, but I can't do it without you. Don't you know where Zinken is? That's where the princess and uncle live. People who come in and out on weekdays are people familiar to the princess. Even I have to say hello in advance when I go there. The fruits and vegetables grown in that place will be sent to the palace for the emperor to eat from who knows when. You can just bring outsiders there. If these people have bad intentions, sprinkle a handful of powder on the field, or bump into the nobles. Will you be responsible for that?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 786. Chapter 786. Someone is going to attack our family. Zhang San's wife's face turned red and white when she was scolded, and she retorted in embarrassment. "Li Zheng is too careful. There are so many bad people here. I was just doing a favor, but it turned out to be a bad thing." "Huh," Li Zheng snorted coldly, and instead of reasoning with her, he just made it clear. "I won't waste any more time talking to you. Just remember that our village will soon follow the new village's lead in raising pigs and chickens, and money will flow in like water. If you dare to cause trouble to the village at this time, and if you dare to cause trouble to everyone and cut off their income, I will kick your family out. At this time, seeing the excitement, the women who had come to watch the show became anxious after hearing these words, and they all interrupted. Third sister-in-law, please come back quickly, don't let everyone be fooled by a hairpin. That's right, we've earned money, but we can't buy it for as many hairpins as we want. There are many noble people in the new village, so it's better not to bring outsiders there. If we bump into a noble person, we will all be in trouble. Some people pushed the salesman away, trying to drive him away. Little brother, you can't harm us, please leave quickly. Yeah, we can't help, you should go look elsewhere. Zhang San's wife was also frightened. She pulled the hairpin from her head and stuffed it into the salesman's arms. Little brother, just be my sister-in-law and leave quickly, there are many people in the city, go try it and you will definitely be able to sell it. The salesman had a wry smile on his face, as if he was disappointed. Actually, the fists in my sleeves have been clenched so tightly that I want to beat these idiots to death. Seeing that the salesman was gone and Li Zheng was shouting at the women to disperse, he felt something was wrong no matter how he thought about it. Although their village is very close to the city, there are not many outsiders coming and going on weekdays. I don't know what happened these days. The day before yesterday, a woman who went the wrong way talked about people from the new village asking for family recognition. She asked about the new village for a long time, and finally she said she had made a mistake. Another salesman appeared today and was going to the new village to sell goods. He hesitated for a moment, then walked towards the new village. Whether it's useful or not, let's talk to Brother Wu. If someone plots against Zinken, it will be a great achievement. Even if nothing happens, just a few words will mean nothing. At this moment, in the new village, the village chief uncle and Uncle Zhao were smiling happily around the newly caught piglets in the pig pen. Although the big white pig in the pig house is a good father and has contributed countless children to the village. But when its children grow up to be pigs, they also need to find like-minded companions to eat and sleep with, and to continue the family lineage together and contribute their strength to enrich the dishes of the villagers. So, every year, some new members come from afar to be added to the pig house. Uncle Zhao threw a handful of cabbage and said with a smile, these piglets will be fed cooked food in the future. They will probably grow to more than 100 kilograms during the Chinese New Year. The village chief knocked the pipe pot and also laughed. It must be possible the princess is still thinking about the feed formula and has her family's fleet transport a lot of fish meal back from the south. These piglets will soon eat better than people, and they will definitely gain weight. Just as we were talking about the excitement, Xiaoang Zhuangli arrived. After everyone was greeted, the village chief welcomed everyone to 3 small rooms on one side to drink tea. This small house is for the villagers who raise pigs and watch the night, and it is very clean. Xiao Wangzhuang was drinking water to moisten his throat, and then he talked about what happened just now. Finally, he was afraid that people in the new village would think he was making a fuss, so he hurriedly explained. Perhaps I'm too worried. I always feel that there have been a lot of outsiders in and out of the village recently. There have been strange faces coming in and out for several days, but I can't hold them in for interrogation. This is the only kind of person who wants to walk around our new village. I can stop him. The village chief's eyes narrowed when he heard this. He clicked his pipe pot twice in vain, and then opened his mouth to thank Xiao Wangzhuang Lijhan. Brother, thank you so much for taking this trip today. As you said, don't worry about it, it's a good thing if everyone takes a breather. Now that we in Sujintan have more and more ways to make money, and our lives are getting better and better, there will inevitably be people with red eyes who want to learn a little bit from us and go back and rob us of our wealth. Not to mention anything else, if our pig house and chicken farm are built, we can raise pigs to 200 kilograms in half a year. We can still sell eggs in winter, but it will be more profitable than farming. Oops, Xiao Wangzhuang suddenly realized, I just said why there are so many outsiders recently, It turns out they are coming to our pig house and chicken farm. These things, we haven't even started making money yet, and they're already thinking about it. The village chief uncle nodded and continued to fool around. Yes, there are always people in this world who don't want to work hard but are just greedy for other people's good things. After you go back, don't talk too much to the people in the village. Be careful that it will be a disservice to everyone. But you must be a little tired. You usually wander around the village and outside the village. Don't act rashly when you encounter suspicious people. Be careful of getting hurt. Just send someone to report the news to our village. There are many veterans in our village, so we won't suffer any disadvantages against bad guys. Xiao Wangzhuangli felt his heart warm after hearing this, and quickly responded, "Brother, don't worry, I will definitely feel relieved about this matter." The village chief patted him on the shoulder and gave him a tall hat. "I feel most at ease when my brother is doing things safely. With your help and care, I can sleep much more peacefully." After chatting a few more words, Xiao Wangzhuang was about to leave. The village chief pulled him to sit for a while, and then ordered the villagers to go to the cellar to pick up a basket of saved fruits and add a basket of eggs. Finally, Xiao Wangzhuangli was happily sent back. Seeing that the shadow was disappearing from Xiao Wangzhuang, the village chief immediately went straight to Li's house. It happened that Li Zhensheng and Li Lao'er came back from the city together. They met the village chief at the door and hurriedly welcomed him into the house. Jiyan was playing games with Xing Xing and Yue. Seeing this, he asked Shuiling to take the children down for snacks. The village chief knows the inside story. After all, the safety of the whole village is under the control of the old man. It is inevitable that someone will take advantage of the situation. A few days ago, Li Lao'er went to the village chief and talked carefully about it for a long time. At this moment, the village chief said straight to the point, "Someone wants to attack our home, and we have sent people over to investigate." Li Zhensheng and Li Lao'er both sat upright and straightened their faces. Li Lao'er was afraid that the old man would be too excited, so he quickly comforted him. "Speak slowly, uncle, no matter how urgent the matter is, don't rush it now." The village chief took a deep breath, calmed down and explained the matter again. Li Zhensheng and Li Lao'er looked at each other and nodded. Li Lao'er said, "Uncle is right, these people must be spies of the Wu family. But I don't know what they plan to do to find out the truth about our village." Li Zhensheng couldn't understand either. Jiyan was even more confused and extremely depressed. She didn't understand how she got into this trouble. She said helplessly, "Are these people full of water in their heads? We have so many people in the village, how dare they come to arrest me even if they understand clearly? This is not a city, this is Broken Gold Beach, my fief, my territory." Li Lao'er laughed when he heard this. Just as he was about to speak, an idea flashed in his mind, and a possibility suddenly occurred to him. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 787. Chapter 787. The Li family is a good husband's family. Earl's Palace. Li Lao'er started shouting, causing everyone to look at him. He said hurriedly, "The full moon banquet is coming soon. Since the village is well protected and outsiders cannot enter, the other party is most likely to put the opportunity to take action in the city, at the Earl's mansion." Everyone suddenly realized. Li Zhensheng nodded and said, "Indeed, this is a very likely possibility. There will definitely be people coming and going that day, guests, maids, women, and even coachmen and boys. There are too many new faces, and they may all be the other party's personnel." Jiyan was a little worried about disturbing his nephew's happy event, so he said, "Uncle, second uncle, why don't we let loose some trees in the village and give those people a chance to come into the village? We can be loose on the outside and tight on the inside, so no one will be hurt. But there are still outsiders at the full moon banquet. If something goes wrong, others will be hurt." "No," Li Lao'er shook his head and objected, the village is too big, and there are too many old people and children. If you can't take care of one of them, you will regret it. On the contrary, it is the Earl's mansion, the yard is not big, so it is easier to take care of. Li Zhensheng thought for a while and agreed with his brother's statement. I also think the Earl's mansion is more suitable. If I were the opponent and wanted to harm Fu Niuer, it would be best to take advantage of the chaos to make the situation chaotic. It would be nothing more than cheating, poisoning, etc. It's autumn now, the weather is dry, and we're in Zindu, so the other party doesn't dare to set fire. Calculated in this way, poisoning is the most likely by then. If we have people in the kitchen of the Earl's mansion, we may be able to catch the other party and question them about their purpose. The village chief was a little anxious and said quickly, "You must take me and Lao Zhao with you that day. If we can't do anything else, we can defeat one or two at the critical moment." Li Zhensheng smiled, but refused. "No, uncle, you and Uncle Zhao really want to stay in the village. This is the home of our Li family. What if we are all in the Earl's mansion and our home is raided by others? We will really be attacked from both sides. Others can't believe it. We can only rest assured if Uncle and Uncle Zhao are in charge." The village chief was so happy to be praised, and he said, "Okay then, you can go to the city without worrying about home. As long as I still have breath, I won't let anyone come to the village to cause trouble." The matter was settled at this point, and several people discussed how to proceed before dispersing. In the next few days, there were minor incidents from time to time in and outside the village. It was not the guests from the hot spring valley who went up the mountain to see the scenery. They got lost and almost went to the princess's mansion. It was when a villager went to the city and rescued an unconscious old lady on the way. As a result, the lost guests were kicked out, and the unconscious old lady was also thrown to the hospital in the city, where she woke up after being pricked with a few silver needles. In short, Broken Gold Beach is airtight everywhere. It is more difficult to penetrate than to reach the sky, let alone use any tricks. Seeing that Yuan Boy's full moon party was only 2 days away, the new village started to get busy. The people in the village set up flowing water mats, and folks from each village came over to drink and have a good time. Naturally, the village chief and others greeted them. The Li family, young and old, and Mr. Wen's family had gone to the Earl's mansion in the city 2 days in advance. The outside of the village finally became quiet, and no one else tried to enter the village under any excuse. Even so, the village chief did not relax his vigilance. He took Jing Lijian and 3 others and set up a table under the big tree at the entrance of the village. Anyone who came would have to pass their eyes. No one can get away with it, and no one can make trouble. In Zindu, dozens of posts about Earl's mansion have been distributed. Although the Li family was of low origin, they were favored and trusted by the emperor, and had the support of Marquis Xinting. They were also on good terms with the Lu family and the Wen family. In recent years, Li Zhensheng's business has become more and more prosperous. Li Laoer also has an excellent official reputation, and Li Laoxi has made meritorious service in the northern expedition by killing enemies. Li Laosan opened a cafeteria in the academy and took care of the students 3 meals a day. The students couldn't help but talk about it when they went home, and everyone was very grateful. Hence, the reputation of the Li family is getting better and better day by day. Especially after the people of Tianwu were completely satisfied with their food and clothing because of corn and potatoes, the words Li family of Broken Gold Beach became known to everyone and appreciated by everyone. The Li family keeps a low profile, especially the women in the family, who rarely go out to socialize unless necessary. This can make a lot of women who have thoughts about the Li family anxiously scratch their heads. There is no other reason. They like the boy from the Li family and want to marry their daughter. It's not that the boys from the Li family are so good, it's just that the daughter of the Li family is so blessed to be married. The first person to enter the Li family was the daughter of Mr. Shiyuan, whom everyone was not familiar with, and she was married to the grandson of the Li family's cook. So, no one paid much attention to it. But 2 years ago, the daughter of the Singh family became the eldest daughter-in-law of the Earl's mansion. In the first year, the Singh family's daughter never became pregnant. If she was placed in any other family, her mother-in-law would have made things difficult for her and she would have been forced to take medicine to prepare for pregnancy. But the daughter of the Singh family did not have such troubles. She and her husband were in charge of the Earl's mansion. As a matter of fact, their little life was very harmonious. Mrs. Lee, a grandmother, and her two aunts, never said a single unpleasant word, and even sent things to the Earl's mansion every now and then, for fear that the young couple would be wronged in terms of food and clothing. Occasionally, someone would turn his back and let the daughter of the Singh family, who was socializing outside, listen to some sarcasm. Mrs. Lee will immediately go to the city and take her granddaughter-in-law to buy jewelry and fabrics with great fanfare, showing her utmost love and support to the end. The most important thing is that the Lee family really has no intention of keeping concubines for their grandson. This is the most enviable thing among women in the city. It just so happens that the second wife of the Geo family is also the aunt of the daughter of the Singh family, and she is naturally fond of socializing. My niece's life is so happy, and it brings so much peace of mind to her parents' family. I wish that everyone would know about it, and it would be difficult to ignore it. As a result, the eldest daughters of many families were kept for marriage, and the favored second daughters looked forward to marrying into the Lee family. But among the boys of the Lee family who are about the same age, one is in the Navy in the South killing Japanese pirates, and the other two are missing. Even if you want to propose marriage, you still need to find out clearly. So, this time the Lee family held a full moon banquet. Many people made up their minds to come and join in the fun and find out about the Lee family boys' background. On the day of the full moon banquet, when the sun was just half high, there were many carriages parked in front of the Earl's mansion. Tao Hongying, Zhao Yuru, and Mrs. Wen are not good at dancing. So Mrs. Jia was invited over early to help entertain the guests. With her as a well-connected person who could talk and laugh, no one in the flower hall felt left out. Everyone ate snacks, tasted fruits, talked about clothes and jewelry, and admired chrysanthemums. It was very lively. Old Mrs. Lee and Mrs. Jia gathered together to listen to the excitement and talk about the shortcomings of their families. Bezu has been kept at home by my mother for a long time, and today he was finally taken out to play. He was as happy as a puppy that had let loose. Wherever good news goes, she follows. Jiyan put on makeup very carefully in the morning, fully showing her softness after recovering from a serious illness, which made Bezu, a stupid girl, wish she could be regarded as a porcelain doll. He helped peel fruits and get snacks for a while, and served tea for a while. He took very good care of me. The good news is very heartwarming. The fruits that this greedy girl has eaten in the past few years have finally not been in vain. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 788. Chapter 788 is Mrs. Peng's natal family a blacksmith. For such a big happy event at home, of course Li Laosan rushed back with brother Li, and by the way Mr. Peng also came to drink the wedding wine. Perhaps he couldn't bear the harassment of his new wife at home, so this time Mr. Peng brought his family. Wen Juan was not very familiar with the stepmother. After all, she rarely went back after getting married. Even if I go back, I just want to see my father, leave some things and then go back to the Li family courtyard. From the trivial things she heard from some of the gentlemen and ladies in the academy, she could tell that the stepmother was not a law-abiding person. But there are many guests at home today, and the etiquette she should do is also indispensable. So she hugged the star and sat next to Mrs. Peng to chat a few words. Mrs. Peng didn't know whether she had forgotten or was stingy because it was the first time she saw the stars and she didn't prepare a meeting gift for her grandson. But she was good at talking. She reached out and pinched Xingxing's fat cheeks and said with a smile, "Oh, it's really good to raise this child to be fat and white. Unlike my brother Xiu, who is 7 or 8 years old and cries every day, which is not pleasant at all." Wen Juan raised her eyebrows, knowing that her stepmother was talking about the concubine's younger brother. Although she didn't like it either, if her stepmother said this on such an occasion, others would only think it was a joke of the Peng family. So, she said, children must learn the rules early when they are young. I am stupid and don't understand these. Fortunately, Xing has great-grandmother and grandmother to help teach me. Does this mean that no one in the Peng family teaches the children well, or that her stepmother is incompetent or does not do her job well? Mrs. Peng choked and felt a little unhappy. She couldn't help but increase her strength, pinching Xingxing's face a little painfully. Xing is the eldest grandson of the 4th generation of the Li family. When did he ever suffer such injustice? He patted Mrs. Peng's hand, jumped out of his mother's arms and went straight to his aunt, and, the stars hurt. Jiyan bent down to pick up her fat nephew. Seeing that her face was a little red, she felt heartbroken. So she glanced at Mrs. Peng lightly and said, "Is Mrs. Peng's natal family a blacksmith? She has really strong hands." Mrs. Peng felt guilty. She really didn't pay attention just now. She wanted to make a few quibbles, but looking at Jiyan's face, she couldn't say anything. Although Jiyan is only 10 years old and seems to be recovering from a serious illness, she has been pampered by her family since she was a child. She is also a princess with a fiefdom, and she is raised in a noble family. Today, for Yuan Boy's full moon party, she specially changed into a peach red and gold woven pipa-collared shirt. Her bun was simple but grand. She only had a gold crown inserted, but it was embedded with 7 color gems. It was extremely luxurious. The 2 specially left braids hang down on her chest, occasionally brushing against the gold-encrusted mutton fat jade necklace, making her face look even more like the full moon, full of nobility. Especially looking at Mrs. Peng so lightly, her big clear eyes seemed to be able to see through all her little thoughts. Mrs. Peng laughed dryly and bravely replied, "The princess is joking, my natal family is a farming and reading family." "Oh, that was my misunderstanding," Jiyan sneered. "I thought Mrs. Peng was born with great strength, but it turns out she hasn't raised a child yet and her subordinates don't know how important it is. Have never raised children." Mrs. Peng felt as if her heart had been stabbed by thousands of arrows in an instant, feeling ashamed and angry. She has been married into the Peng family for almost 4 years, and she has never been happy, otherwise the concubines in the family would not dare to try to jump on her head and act wild. When Juan saw her stepmother die down, lowered her head and only twisted the handkerchief, feeling relieved. She was impatient to show any courtesy, so she stood up and said, "Grandma, let me go to the kitchen to have a look. My mother and 4th aunt are probably very busy." "Go." Mrs. Li smiled and waved her hand. "Today is a good day for your sister-in-law and Yuan, but you have to suffer a lot from the hard work." Wan'er sat very comfortably during this confinement. Not only did she not feel haggard, she actually gained 7 or 8 pounds. At this moment, she hugged Yuan and sat next to the old lady, and said with a smile, "Yes, Wenjuan, in a few days, I will be free to sew a good skirt to thank you." "Okay," Wenjuan said without any hesitation. He politely agreed, stepped forward with a smile, touched his round and plump cheeks, and begged, "Sister-in-law, please help me embroider some magnolias on my skirt. The magnolias embroidered by my sister-in-law are the most beautiful. Then add another coat, embroider small white magnolia flowers on the sleeves and neckline, and embroider large flowers on the group. It will definitely look better. My sister just gave me a box of pearls the day before yesterday, so I used pearls as the core wanner. I really want to thank the sister-in-law." Wenjuan doesn't talk much on weekdays, but she is a good person, hard-working and does her duty, neither fighting nor grabbing. In the past month, she has helped take care of Yuan the most, and she has also taught parenting lessons. She is really a rare and good sister-in-law in the world. The women next to him were all looking at her with envy. Regardless of whether they were rich or poor, living a comfortable life and having fun as a family was the most important thing. The sisters-in-law relationship in the Li family is almost the same as that of biological sisters. Some people couldn't bear it anymore and gathered around old Mrs. Li to ask about the other boys of the Li family. Not to mention the excitement in the house, just that when Juan brought the maid Xiaoyu to the kitchen courtyard in front. Tao Hongying and Zhao Yuru were leading the people to prepare for the banquet. Zhao Yuru urged Tao Hongying, "Hongying, it's almost busy here. Wash your hands quickly, tidy up, and go to the backyard to entertain guests. Jie Huan and I are here." Tao Hongying refused. "Third sister-in-law, you are my sister-in-law, and you will be the one to entertain the guests when you go. How can there be any reason for one of my younger siblings to show off and leave you to work?" Zhao Yuru couldn't laugh or cry when she heard this, and pulled her to wash her hands. "Lao Si is the general, and Fu Niu is the princess. No matter what, it's your turn to go and socialize. Your third brother, me, and Jie Huan were all in the food business, so of course we are in charge of the kitchen." While the two sisters were pulling, they heard someone shouting in the yard. "Who are you? Stop!" The two were stunned for a moment, and immediately shouted loudly to the woman who was helping the cook in the kitchen, as well as the cook sent by Cyclamen, not to go out. The two of them wanted to take a look at the door, but they were already pushed inside by Jie Huan. Jie Huan rushed out with a kitchen knife in each hand. Because he recognized that the person shouting just now was Wenjuan. Wenjuan and Xiaoyu were standing behind the door panel at the moment. Xiaoyu was holding the door bolt in her hand, protecting her master tightly. Dongmei, Shuiling, and Shuiyun were now fighting with a middle-aged woman. Jiawen ran to Wenjuan and saw that she was not injured, so he asked, "What's going on?" Wenjuan's face was shocked and she quickly responded, "As soon as I entered the yard, I saw Mrs. Fang and her little granddaughter fetching water. And this unfamiliar woman stood behind them, opened the lid of the soup pot, and was about to pour something into it. There were many visitors today, and the pots in the kitchen were not enough, so we temporarily built 2 earthen stoves in the corners of the courtyard. One is braised pork, and the other is stewed with mutton and wolfberry soup." Sure enough, some people focused on these 2 earthen stoves. By chance, master and servant Wenjuan came over and saw her at a glance. Actually, even if they hadn't crashed, nothing would have happened today. Because Dongmei and Shuiling have been working in the yard, watching all the movements. They noticed this strange woman when she came in to ask for water. The young woman is very capable. Dongmei and Shuiling attacked her one by one, but they actually managed to survive for a while. But she found an opportunity, grabbed Mrs. Fang's little granddaughter and threw it in front of Dongmei and Shuiling. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 789. Chapter 789 A Misunderstanding? Mrs. Fang bought the house 2 years ago and worked as a chore. Because her son and daughter-in-law were dead, she was the only one who had to rely on her, which was very pitiful. If something bad happened to the little granddaughter, she might not be able to survive. Dongmei and Shuiling hesitated for a moment. Instead of kicking the little granddaughter of the Fang family away, they reached out and took it. But because of such a moment's delay, the strange woman had already climbed over the wall and was about to run away. At the critical moment, Zheng Sanjiang arrived and kicked the old woman off the wall. Following that, he also jumped down and knelt down on one knee. His knee was stuck in the crook of the mother-in-law's neck. She rolled her eyes and was unable to fight back. Dong Mei breathed a sigh of relief and quickly found a rope and stepped forward to help. To avoid alarming the enemy, there were no men in the kitchen today, and she was the only one who brought Shui Ling as the main force. If the thief succeeded or escaped, they would really be embarrassed to see their master. Fortunately, Zheng Sanjiang is still guarding outside the yard. Dong Mei stepped on the woman's chest and was about to bend down to tie her up when she saw black blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. She cursed angrily, "No, this thing is poisoned." Zheng Sanjiang also frowned, but still did not let go of his knees. It was not until the mother-in-law's face turned black and she tried to breathe again that he stood up and said, "It is true that you have taken poison. You continue to work. I will report to the master that this is a dead soldier." After saying that, he pulled up a large wicker basket filled with vegetables, threw the woman into it, covered it with a sack, carried it on his back and walked out. Those who don't know just think that he is delivering food to the kitchen. Who knows that the basket contains a dead person? Dong Mei and Shui Ling also looked bad, sweating from the fight just now. No wonder they couldn't fight, that woman was actually a dead soldier. The dead soldiers are different from ordinary guards and nurses. They are usually children bought by various wealthy families from various places. They have been trained secretly for many years, fed and provided with good food and drink. Some people even brainwash them every day and teach them to be loyal to the Lord. After you have completed your studies, you can do assassination and other errands for your master's family, and you will definitely be killed or injured. Either the target character died, or the mission failed and the dead man committed suicide. Unexpectedly, the people behind the scenes plotted against the Li family and did such a cruel thing. Li Lauer was waiting for guests. When he saw Zheng He making a gesture at the door, he found an excuse and walked out. He also changed his expression when he heard that the person sent by the other party was a dead soldier. At the same time, Ji Yan also received news from Shui Ling. She looked at the women in the room, as well as her grandmother, sister-in-law, and nephew. After thinking about it, she stood up and said, "Grandma, yesterday I sent a basket of strawberries from home. I'll have them washed and delivered to everyone. Taste something new." Mrs. Li thought her granddaughter was tired and impatient to socialize, so she said, "Go." Just as Ji Yan was about to go out, Beizu grabbed her hand, "Sister Ji Yan, I'll go with you." Ji Yan was anxious. She was afraid that the missing woman in the kitchen and her accomplices would target the female relatives in this house again, so she wanted to go out for a walk by herself and bring the danger outside. As a result, the orb must follow. If something really goes wrong, why not add another one? Unfortunately, Beizu dragged her away without waiting for her to refuse. Ji Yan was helpless. After thinking about it, he winked at Shui Ling and said, "Have someone wash the strawberries and bring them over. Let's go for a walk in the small garden." Shui Ling responded and arrangements were made quickly. The three of them went to the garden, but they didn't notice a little maid quietly following them. The Earl's mansion is not big, but in order to take care of the beauty of the old and young girls in the family, a garden was also built. Of course, there are no pavilions, just a small garden covering an area of 1 acre, which is suitable for taking a walk after eating. It is now late autumn, and the cold wind is blowing on my body. The wives of each family were in the house, and the maids and women they brought with them were all crowded at the door, so they were left to serve. Most of the others were in the garden, chatting and killing time. Seeing the good news and the treasure coming, everyone lowered their eyebrows and quickly retreated. But there were exceptions. A little maid seemed a little nervous, and her veil was blown away by the wind when she failed to catch it. She squatted down to pick it up and ran away with the handkerchief, and soon she was 3 steps away from Ji Yan and others. When she finally caught the handkerchief, she awkwardly raised her head and bowed to Ji Yan to apologize, "My lord, it was my slave who was careless and offended." Ji-yin smiled and shook her head. Just as she was about to speak, she looked behind the little maid in horror and yelled, "What are you going to do?" The little maid was startled and turned to look, but there was nothing behind her. She felt bad, and just as she was about to dodge, a cloud of white powder was thrown into her face. Hurriedly, she took a breath inertly, and it was too late to hold her breath. She couldn't help but be angry and glared at Ji-yin fiercely. She still wanted to speak, but she couldn't use any strength, so she could only faint and lie down on the ground unwillingly. Shui Ling immediately jumped forward and quickly removed the little maid's chin. Beizhu opened his mouth and was confused from beginning to end. What happened? Is there something wrong with this maid who picked up the handkerchief? Ji-yin breathed a long sigh of relief, turned around and saw Beizhu looking stupid, raised his hand to close her mouth, and said with a smile, "If you have a problem in your heart, hold it in. I will explain it to you later. You go back to your mother first, don't follow me. Someone is causing trouble today, and there will be danger around me." Beizhu nodded blankly, and after waking up Shen'er, he shook his head desperately. She grabbed 2 flower hairpins from her head and pulled her hair into a mess. Then she looked around nervously. "No, I can't leave. It would be unjust to run away when there is danger." She tried her best to keep Ji-yin behind, and said with trembling hands, "Sister Ji-yin, don't be afraid, I will protect you. The good news is really helpless and funny, but this foodie girl still has a conscience, but the 2 hairpins may not be able to hurt a hair of the bad guy." At this time, Li Lao'er and Zheng He broke in. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that his niece was well. Looking at the little maid on the ground again, his face turned dark again. "Fu Niu'er, didn't I tell you to stay in the house and not come out casually?" Ji-yin quickly said, "Second uncle, I heard that someone was caught doing something in the kitchen. I'm afraid that they have accomplices who will attack the female relatives again, so they go out for a walk. As a result, this maid came close to me by picking up a handkerchief. Just in case, I sprinkled a handful of powder on her." Hearing this, Li Lao'er didn't care to complain about his niece anymore and called Zheng He to come forward to check. Zheng He touched the maid's mouth for a long time, with a strange expression on his face. Uncle, princess, this maid has no fangs in her mouth." "What? The good news is a bit embarrassing. Could it be that she is an ordinary maid?" Shui Ling was also unconvinced and shouted, "It's impossible. This maid was so fierce just now and looked like she wanted to eat people. How could she not be a bad person?" After saying that, she squatted down and touched the maid. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 790. Chapter 790. Food is the most important thing for the people. Unexpectedly, after checking it for a long time, she found something wrong. "Uncle, this girl's ring has a mechanism." Shui Ling took off a silver ring from the maids and sent it to Li Lao'er. She said excitedly, "There is an uncle in our village who is good at traps. I have seen him many times since I was a child. This ring is made too thick, it is definitely extraordinary." Li Lao'er took it, examined it carefully, and fiddled with it carefully. He didn't know where it touched, and suddenly a silver light shot out directly in front of him, directly hitting the branches of a flower tree. The branch that was visible to the naked eye immediately turned black. Poisonous. Everyone was shocked. If this maid had taken action when they met just now and pricked Ji-yin with a poisonous needle. Li Lao'er lost his temper at his niece for the first time and scolded him with a dark face, "Go back quickly. You don't need to interfere in anything. Just take care of yourself and don't cause trouble." Ji-yin was also afraid of it, but he was still a little big. Fortunately, this little girl wanted to get close to her first for some unknown purpose, and her medicinal powder was also very effective and acted very quickly. Otherwise, she might have met Lord Hades by now. "I understand," Second uncle, I will go and accompany grandma right now. Jiyan responded obediently, took the orb, took the water spirit, and ran away immediately. A woman was caught in the kitchen, and a maid was caught in the garden. It is estimated that the number of people sent by the other party is almost the same. After all, none of the dead soldiers of any family are carrots and cabbages. How could there be only a dozen people dispatched every time? After leaving the garden, Jiyan patted his chest, and Shuiling was also wiping cold sweat. Only Beizu's excited eyes are shining. Sister Jiyan, who was that maid just now, an assassin, or a charlatan? Why did she want to assassinate you? Did she have some misunderstanding and treat you as her father's enemy? What was the powder you threw out? Why did she pour it down immediately? He heard the good news and was dumbfounded. He knocked on her forehead and said, I tell you to read less of the script, but you don't listen. What are you thinking about? I'll tell your mother that I won't let you go out again. Oh, Sister Jiyan, Beizu quickly begged for mercy. I was wrong, I will never read the script again. She hugged Jiyan's arm like a koala, playing tricks. Sister Jiyan, please give me a bottle of that medicinal powder. If someone bullies me in the future, I will give him a slap in the face. The good news was ruined, and the maid brought by the guests looked over and said in desperation, okay, I'll give you a bottle. In a few days, I will send someone to bring you fruits, and then we will take them with you. Haha, great. Beizu was young after all, and was a little naive as he was pampered by his family. The fright just now was completely forgotten by her, leaving only the excitement of getting the magical powder. I don't know how Li Lao dealt with the two maids and women. In short, there were no unexpected incidents for most of the next day. The banquet was served, with 4 tables for male guests in the front yard, and 5 tables for more female guests in the backyard. Tao Hongying has brought out 5 or 6 apprentices in the past few years, all of whom are hard-working and talented. Today I transferred 2 of them to help make cold dishes. The rest of the stew and several main dishes were made by Tao Hongying and Jie Huan themselves. It's not that Tao Hongying and Jie Huan are not comfortable if they don't work, they are born cheap. But in the simple thinking of the Li family, they brought congratulatory gifts to celebrate the full moon of the Li family's children and wished the children healthy and safe growth. The meals prepared by the Li family themselves were the most sincere reward as the host. Obviously this reward has been loved and praised by everyone. Cyclamen is now the best-selling restaurant in Zindu. The private dining room on the top floor serves 1 table a day, and the wait is even after the new year. People with no social status have no chance to taste the taste of private kitchens. But it is said that the private dishes of Cyclamen are now the craftsmanship of apprentices, and the 4th wife of the Li family is no longer willing to take action. But at today's full moon banquet, almost half of the dishes were served by Mrs. Li Si herself. On the tables of the female guests are dishes that women like, mainly sweet and sour. For example, squirrel mandarin fish, pineapple sweet sour pork, open-back shrimp with garlic vermicelli, double-section noodles, baked pumpkin with egg yolk, tomato beef brisket, etc. All the female guests who ate there loved it so much that they didn't care about etiquette and everyone added an extra bowl of rice. I don't know where I bought the Li family's rice. When steamed, the grains are distinct, soft, glutinous and sweet. Look carefully at the shiny rice oil hanging on the surface of the rice grains, which is really rare and good rice. Others were just paying it back and eating more if it tasted good, but Mrs. Gio was not polite and grabbed Mrs. Li's hand and asked for it directly. Old girl, where did you buy this rice? Bring me some when you leave later, it's really delicious. Mrs. Li laughed when she heard this, but did not agree. Instead, she looked at her granddaughter who was accompanying the guests at the table next to her. This rice is not sold in the market, but was brought out by her granddaughter. If she agrees rashly but embarrasses her granddaughter, that will not work. He had heard the good news for a long time, and when he saw Grandma's eyes, he smiled and said, "Grandma Chia, this rice was bought by chance in a small town when my caravan went to Chuanzhou Prefecture. It's so delicious, it's quite unexpected for our family. We still have 100 caddies at home, so I'll give you 50 caddies, okay? When the caravan passes by there next time, I'll ask someone to buy more." "Okay, of course." Old Mrs. Chia agreed happily, and then said to old Mrs. Li, "Don't feel bad, old sister, I have some sable skins and I'll have them delivered to you tomorrow. In winter, if you make a coat, you will definitely stay warm." Old Mrs. Li laughed, gave her a piece of fish meat with chopsticks, and said angrily, "Who does Baozu look like? From the looks of it, he was led astray by your grandmother." "Oh, what do you mean it's gone bad? My orbs are so good, they look blessed and have a good temper." Mrs. Chia protested, which made Mrs. Li laugh again. There were only two elders at the table. If they were happy, others would naturally be happy too. While talking and laughing, everyone felt very full. The men in the outer courtyard were also quite satisfied with today's dishes. Different from the sweet and sour flavors favored by female guests, most of the dishes on their table have strong flavors and are suitable for drinking. For example, coriander beef, grilled lamb chops, cumin meat slices, stir-fried kidneys, salt and pepper shrimps. The male guests ate with their mouths full of oil and drank some wine. They were all satisfied when they left. After being busy for most of the day, we finally sent away all the guests. The young and old of the Li family were all tired and lacked energy, especially the old lady. Many women asked about their family happiness and well-being, and wanted to know where they were now and what errands they were doing. But as a grandmother, she didn't even know that, and was even worried about their life and death. Li Zhensheng and Li Lao are sitting in the outer courtyard at the moment, talking to two guests who stayed behind. These two guests, one is Mr. Zheng, Li Lao's colleague. They have frequent contacts and are quite familiar with each other. Otherwise, he would not have brought his wife to congratulate them today. The other person is Chu Yuanwei, Li Zhensheng's partner for many years. Back then, when he didn't recognize his ancestor and returned to his clan, and was still called Wang Xingkaiu, the two of them were very good friends. End of this chapter.